Hello, this is Stephen's Story with tips on trading. I'd like to talk with you about something that's been developing or evolving in the Forex market recently, probably over the last few months, and a lot of folks tend to be concerned about it. And that is the increases of regulations that are happening, particularly in the United States, by the National Futures Association on the Forex market. For instance, some of the regulations that are about no hedging, no stops, no take profit limits, the first in, first out orders, and even more recently than that, how the leverage restrictions have been reducing, first down to 100 to 1, and now there's even a proposal out that might possibly be legislated on and come into regulation down to 10 to 1. Now this is concerning a lot of traders. I'm getting people asking me, gee, is the Forex market still going to be profitable? Is it worth trading in? How do we deal with this? Should I bail out? What do I do if I've paid a lot of money for Forex now? Am I going to lose it? Don't worry. This is really not much of a big deal. These are regulations, at least the ones that are developing by the National Futures Association, which are focused on NFA regulated brokers in the United States. However, because so many people are concerned about this, U.S. brokers are already beginning, if they haven't already done so, to set up offshore offices in other countries where they're not so regulated. Therefore, United States brokers who set up an office in Australia or in Cyprus or in England or some other country in the world will not have the same NFA regulations that apply to them in those foreign countries. And therefore, U.S.-based citizens or traders can still take effect or trade through those brokers in other countries. Another option, or kind of a way around this, if you're interested in that, you've got some brokers who are foreign to the United States, who are doing business in the United States, but who are not affected or regulated by the NFA, simply because they are foreign brokers doing business here. Another way to look at this is the Forex market is a global market. There are many currencies involved, many markets, many brokers all around the world. Now, I don't want to give you the wrong impression. I'm not against the NFA. In fact, I think the NFA is attempting, from their own point of view, to regulate a market so that they can minimize some of the risks and create greater transparency and so forth for traders. Now, whether I agree with some of their choices and how they want to regulate that really doesn't matter. I don't have any control of those things. I simply want to respond to a concern that is happening from traders all over the U.S. Some are wanting to jump ship with their brokers, and of course this is why their brokers are also looking at expanding their offices to offshore locations from the U.S. The NFA is a regulatory agency for U.S.-based brokers who are specific to the USA, and there's good need for regulation. You also want to be careful when you're looking for a broker to select a broker that you've researched well, no matter where you find that broker in any country. Because it's important to find a broker who's ethical, who's honest, who's going to treat you fairly and serve you well. You want to find a broker who has some regulation out there, because then it makes it more difficult if they're not regulated at all. So there's a good purpose for a regulatory agency. This Tips on Trading video is simply so that we can respond to these issues, give you some options, and let you know that there's no reason to be worried or frightened about the new regulations in the NFA. There are other options you can work with if you're not satisfied within those conditions. You have your choice of working with whichever broker you decide to research, which fits your needs and offers the services that you want to work with. Now, if you're content working within the NFA regulated brokers in the U.S., great, wonderful. If you're content with 10 to 1, if that proposal should be legislated, wonderful, not a problem. If you're not, then seek those brokers which will operate from an offshore base that are not NFA regulated, and there are a myriad of those brokers. So don't worry, there's not a problem here. That's Tips on Trading, and this is Stephen's Story.